Imagine a place on a map. It has a name, a shape, and a specific location. You can point to it with your finger and, plan a trip there. For more than 100 years, Sandy Island was just such a place. It was a small sliver of land supposedly located in the Coral Sea, halfway between Australia and the French territory of New Caledonia. It appeared on charts made by respected hydrographers and was printed in world atlases used in schools and homes. It was not a famous place, but it was a documented one, a dot of solid ground in a vast blue ocean. The island was part of our accepted geography, a known feature of our planet's complex and beautiful surface. The story of Sandy Island begins in the late 19th century. In 1876, the British whaling ship Velocity reported its existence. The captain and crew noted its position and described it, adding it to the ever-growing collection of knowledge about the world's oceans. This was a time of great exploration. Ships were crisscrossing the globe, filling in the blank spaces on our maps. Every new discovery, no matter how small, was a triumph of human endeavor. Sandy Island was one of these small triumphs. It was recorded, catalogued, and passed down through generations of mapmakers, each one copying the work of the last, trusting the information was correct. For decades, this phantom island lived a quiet life on paper. It appeared on British Admiralty charts and even on modern digital maps like Google Earth. Its persistence was remarkable. It survived revisions and updates, a ghostly presence that no one thought to question. Why would they? It was there, printed in black ink, a part of the official record. The world is a very large place, and not every single island can be visited or verified by every mapmaker. Trust is a fundamental part of cartography. The work of those who came before is the foundation upon which new maps are built, creating a chain of information stretching back through time. The island was shown to be about 24 kilometers long and 5 kilometers wide, a decent-sized piece of land. Sailors passing through the area would have seen it on their charts, and perhaps even adjusted their course to avoid it. It was a landmark, a fixed point in the shifting seas. To question its existence would be like questioning the existence of a well-known street in your own city. It was simply there. This quiet acceptance allowed Sandy Island to remain real in the eyes of the world for over a century, a testament to how easily a mistake, once recorded, can become an accepted fact, passed on without challenge. The presence of an island on a nautical chart is not just a geographical detail, it is a critical piece of information for sailors. For mariners, the sea is a dangerous and unpredictable place. Knowing the location of coastlines, reefs, and islands is essential for safe navigation. A ship could run aground on an uncharted rock, or it could find safe harbor at a known island during a storm. Sandy Island, marked clearly on maps, would have been treated with this kind of seriousness. Captains would have noted its position, planned their routes around it, and perhaps even looked for its shores on the horizon as they sailed past. This reliance on maps created a strange reality for Sandy Island. Even if no one had seen it for years, its existence on the chart made it real for practical purposes. A sailor's job is to trust the map. It is their guide, their most important tool. To ignore it would be reckless. So for generations of sailors navigating the Coral Sea, Sandy Island was a feature to be respected. They would have logged its coordinates in their ship's records and reported their proximity to it. In this way, the Phantom Island influenced the real-world actions of countless people, shaping their journeys across the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. The belief in the island was so strong that it was included in official databases used by governments and maritime organizations worldwide. The World Vector Shoreline Database, a resource used by the United States military, listed it. This shows how deeply embedded the island had become in our collective geographical knowledge. It was not just a historical curiosity on an old map. It was data in a modern computer system. This digital existence gave it a new layer of legitimacy. If a computer program said it was there, then it must be there. The ghost had successfully haunted its way into the 21st century. Think about the sailors who might have passed its location at night or in a thick fog. They would have been extra cautious, listening for the sound of waves breaking on a shore that did not exist. They might have peered into the darkness, straining to see a coastline that was never there. Their belief in the map would have created a very real sense of tension and vigilance. The island, though made of nothing but ink and pixels, had a powerful effect. It demonstrates how our understanding of the world is shaped not just by what is there, but by what we believe is there. The mystery of Sandy Island might have remained a quiet footnote in cartography forever. But in 2012, a team of Australian scientists aboard the research vessel Southern Surveyor decided to investigate. They were on a mission to study the ocean floor in the Coral Sea. Their planned route took them directly to the spot where Sandy Island was supposed to be. They were curious. Some maps showed it, while others did not. The inconsistency was puzzling, and as scientists, they were driven by a need to find the truth. They decided to make a detour and see the island for themselves. As the Southern Surveyor approached the coordinates, the crew watched their instruments with growing anticipation. The ship's navigation charts showed they were getting closer and closer to land, but when they looked out the window, they saw nothing but the endless blue of the ocean. There were no sandy shores, no palm trees, no rocky cliffs. There was only water, stretching out in every direction to the horizon. The moment of discovery was not a cheer of finding a new land, but a quiet, collective shock of finding absolutely nothing at all. The island was not there. It had vanished because it had never existed in the first place. To be certain, the scientists took measurements. They used the ship's advanced equipment to map the seafloor. The depth soundings showed that the water at Sandy Island's location was over 1,400 meters deep. There was no underwater mountain or submerged volcano that could have once been an island. There was no geological evidence that a piece of land had ever existed in that spot and sunk beneath the waves. The scientists had sailed to a ghost. They had undiscovered an island, erasing it from the map with the simple, undeniable truth of direct observation. The hunt was over, and the conclusion was clear. The news of Sandy Island's non-existence spread quickly around the world. It was a fascinating story that captured the public's imagination. How could an island be on our maps for 136 years if it was never real? It was a moment that made many people reconsider the maps they had always trusted. The expedition of the Southern Surveyor was a perfect example of the scientific method in action. They had a question, they formed a hypothesis, and they sailed out to test it. Their voyage into nothingness was, in fact, a great success. It corrected a long-standing error and made our picture of the world just a little bit more accurate. So, how does a phantom island appear on a map and stay there for over a century? The most likely explanation for Sandy Island is simple human error. The crew of the whaling ship Velocity in 1876 might have made a mistake. They could have misidentified a floating pumice raft, a large mass of volcanic rock that can float for thousands of miles after an eruption. From a distance, it can look like a sandy beach. Or perhaps they simply made a navigational error, recording their position incorrectly. Once this initial mistake was made and submitted to the authorities, it was copied by cartographers who trusted the source. This process of copying errors is common in the history of map-making. Before satellites and aerial photography, map-makers relied on the reports of explorers, sailors, and travelers. These reports were not always accurate. Sometimes information was exaggerated, misunderstood, or simply fabricated. Yet, once an error made it onto a respected map, it was very difficult to remove. Other mapmakers would copy it, assuming it was correct. This is how mythical places like the mountains of Kong in Africa or the island of High Brazil off the coast of Ireland appeared on maps for centuries. Sandy Island is just a more recent example of this age-old problem. The story of Sandy Island teaches us an important lesson about knowledge. It shows that we should always be willing to question what we think we know. Science is not about having all the answers. It is about the process of asking questions and searching for evidence. The scientists on the Southern Surveyor did not just accept the map as fact. They went to check for themselves. This spirit of inquiry is what drives progress and helps us refine our understanding of the world. It reminds us that even in the age of GPS and satellite imaging, the work of exploration is never truly finished. We must continue to look closely at the world around us. Ultimately, the tale of the island that wasn't there is a wonderful reminder that our planet is still full of mysteries. While we have mapped the continents and plumbed the ocean depths, there are still surprises waiting to be found, and mistakes waiting to be corrected. The world is not a perfectly known and static place. It is dynamic, complex, and sometimes it keeps secrets. The empty patch of sea where Sandy Island was supposed to be is not just a corrected error. It is an invitation to remain curious, to keep exploring, and to embrace the humbling and exciting truth that we do not know everything.